The Young and the Restless spoilers. Diane had been walking on eggshells for weeks. Jack, once attentive and loving, had grown distant, more absorbed in his work than ever before. Their marriage, once filled with passion and partnership, had taken a backseat to Jack's relentless focus on Jabbit. Diane couldn't remember the last time they had shared a quiet moment together without a business deal or family crisis interrupting them. And now, the gnawing anxiety in her chest told her that their relationship was on the verge of collapse. Jack was slipping away from her, and no matter how much she tried to reconnect, it was clear that his mind was elsewhere. The thought of divorce hung over her like a dark cloud, a possibility she dreaded but couldn't ignore. The worry consumed her, and in those quiet moments when Jack was buried in work, Diane found herself spiraling. She had sacrificed so much to stand by Jack's side, to be a part of his world. But now it seemed like she had been cast aside, her importance fading in his eyes. Victor Newman, ever the opportunist, had been watching this unfold from the sidelines. He had always been a master at identifying weaknesses, and he knew that Diane was in a vulnerable position. With Jack's neglect and their marriage on the rocks, Victor saw the perfect moment to strike. Diane was someone he could use. Someone who, with the right amount of persuasion, could be turned against Jack. It wasn't long before Victor made his move. He arranged a private meeting with Diane, away from the prying eyes of Genoa City. She arrived hesitantly, unsure of what to expect, but as soon as she stepped into the room, she knew that Victor had something planned. His demeanor was calm, but there was an unmistakable intensity in his gaze. "Diane," Victor began, his voice low and measured, "you've always been an intelligent woman, and I know you've been feeling unappreciated lately. Jack, well, he's predictable, isn't he? He's so focused on his work, his so-called family responsibilities, that he forgets the one person who's always been there for him, you." Diane stiffened but said nothing, allowing Victor to continue. He leaned forward, his eyes locked on hers. "You're not the first woman to experience this with Jack. You've seen what happens to the women who come into his life. Phyllis, Nikki, even Sharon at one point. They all thought they could matter to him, but in the end, they were nothing more than an afterthought. Jack always puts Jabbit and the Abbott legacy first. He always has, and he always will." Victor's words hit Diane like a punch to the gut. She had fought so hard to prove that she was different, that she could be Jack's equal. But deep down, she knew that Victor was right. Jack had never prioritized her. No matter how much she had given, Jack had always placed Jabot above their marriage, above. Diane's heart raced. "What are you saying, Victor?" "I'm offering you a choice," Victor said, leaning back in his chair. "If you help me bring down Jack, I will make sure you're rewarded. The position of CEO at Jabbit will be yours. You've earned it, Diane. You've worked for it, and you deserve more than to be pushed aside by a man who clearly doesn't value you." For a moment, Diane felt a rush of exhilaration. The thought of finally being recognized, of being in control, was intoxicating. Victor was offering her a path to power, a way to escape the shadow Jack had cast over her. But it was more than that. It was validation that she had been right all along. She wasn't just some pawn in Jack's life. She was capable of running Jabba, of proving her worth to everyone who had doubted her. But then, the doubt crept in. Could she really betray Jack? After everything they had been through, after all the promises they had made to each other, could she align herself with Victor Newman, Jack's greatest enemy? And what about Kyle, their son? He had already joined forces with Victor in a moment of weakness, feeling abandoned by both of his parents. If Diane followed the same path, what would become of their family? Victor's voice interrupted her thoughts. "You're at a crossroads, Diane. You can stay with Jack, continue to be ignored, continue to be second best, or you can take control of your own destiny, finally get what you deserve. Think about it." Diane was torn. On one hand, she knew that Victor's offer was tempting. She had grown tired of playing second fiddle to Jack's ambitions, tired of being the supportive wife who never got the recognition she craved. Victor was right. She deserved more. But on the other hand, joining Victor's alliance felt like a betrayal not just of Jack, but of everything she had fought for. The days that followed were agonizing for Diane. Jack remained distant, more consumed by Jeb's affairs than ever before. completely oblivious to the turmoil swirling inside her. Every time she looked at him, she felt a pang of resentment. Victor's words echoed in her mind, reminding her of how Jack had pushed her aside, how he had taken her for granted. But as much as she wanted to prove her worth, to take the power Victor was offering, Diane also knew that there was still a part of her that loved Jack. She had invested so much in their relationship, and walking away now, joining Victor in his crusade to destroy Jack, felt like an admission of defeat. In the end, Diane knew that she had a choice to make, one that would define her future and perhaps the future of Jabot itself. Would she stand by Jack and fight for their marriage, even as he continued to neglect her, or would she seize the opportunity to become the powerful woman she always knew she could be, even if it meant betraying the man she once loved? As the weight of the decision pressed down on her, Diane realized that there was no easy answer. Either